The FWHM was close to 7. So we use this value of FWHM as the radius of our aperture to make sure that we at least cover 90% of the star's flux. And we also added a sky annulus to calculate and remove the flux from the sky. Performing the photometry gave us the values of intrinsic magnitude, which is shown in the fourth column of this table. On the second and third columns, we have the date and time of our observations. Since the intrinsic magnitudes are true only for our telescope, we have to standardize it by adding a 0 point. To do that, we chose 10 random stars near our target. We didn't check whether they are variable stars or not. There are 10 random stars, so there might be an error in it. So we found out the intrinsic magnitude of these 10 stars, compared them with the standard values, and found out the 0 point. We tabulated the 0 point values in the column 4 of this table and took the average of it. Finally, we added this 0 point to the intrinsic magnitudes to get the standardized magnitudes of our star. And it is again tabulated in column 4. Next, we plotted our data with time in MATLAB. So there's a correction in this plot. It should on y-axis it should have been minus mag. It is shown as mag. So next to find the time period. So we didn't put a lot of time into this project. I mean, we didn't put enough efforts into this. So we didn't use the Lom's-Cargill periodogram method to find the time period. I just looked at the graph and estimated how long it would. I mean, so I extrapolated it. So in this, if you can see this picture, so we have the observations 1 to 7. So all I have to do is figure out 8 and 9.
You got 5 decimal places by visually acting.
Sorry, sir.
You wrote down an answer to 5 significant digits by visually extrapolating.
Yes, sir. Actually, we did get 5. Because the values of magnitude of the star are very precise. So we got very precise answers. So yeah, so we the point. So the 1-9 is the time period which you have to find. We already know 1-7, which is the time period between the first and last observation. So I extrapolated from 7 to 8 and then from 8 to 9 and added these two values to the 1-7. So I got the whole time period. I got 6.3893 hours, and the expected value was 6.997 hours. So there's an error of 8%. I can show the calculations later, sir, if you want, how I got this exactly. So the uncertainties, yeah. So the uncertainties in this data analysis obviously is so the method to estimate time period is not ideal. So there's an error in that, and there is some quantization error in calculation of FWHM because the radius I used is equals to FWHM. But we can only enter the radius values in integers, but the FWHM can be a non-integer. So there is an error in that. And this error might also creep into the calculation of 0 point. So these are the errors. I will hand it over to Yashasvi now to talk about the results part.
Yeah, thank you, Ishan. Go to the next slide. Yashwant. Okay, yeah, thanks.
Yeah.
So now let's move on to calculating like magnitudes and distance to the star, to our object. So like we already know, unlike specified variables, RR value doesn't follow like a well-defined PL relationship in visible bands. So like we found a research paper in which average PL relations were like found using like theoretical calibrations and like using a particular data set to like basically get analytical solutions, analytical relations between the magnitude and the period, basically the PL relation. So Next slide, Yashant.
Yeah, there's a lag. Just wait.
Yeah. One thing we noted was like the formulas also showed a dependence on the metallicity of the star. So like for different bands. Oh yeah, this one is fine. So like in different bands, basically the apparent magnitude, the magnitude depended on does not like just depended on the time period of the variable star, but also on the metallicity of the star. So looking at the graph shown in the research paper, and basically on the assumption that like I band is near R band, the data we took was in R band, so we decided to use the relation for I band. Like there's not a well known relation for visible bands, invisible bands for RR narrow stars. Uh, there was a like there was some mention of a PL relation in R band in the research paper, but that was for that there was a factor included in that was something called structural composition of the star and all, like there was a factor for that L factor. So basically we decided to stick with this metallicity formula and the relation in the I band. So also we tried to find the metallicity value for our particular object, but we couldn't find one. So we like we tried out different values which were like particularly used in that research paper to code different magnitudes. So they generally use four metallicity values for each band. So for those the four values mentioned here, point triple zero five, point 001, point 002, and point 006, we got the absolute magnitudes to be these from this PL relation. And Yashant, next slide.
About
Yeah.
90 seconds left for your time. So,
The first day data we had got 7 data points on that day, and the apparent magnitude we got from those data points. We basically took an average of those 7 data points to get a like average magnitude value, and we used that to calculate the distance from the modulus formula, which is shown here. So the absolute magnitude we got from the PL relation, and the apparent magnitude is the average value, and from that we got the distances here. And Yashwant, next slide. Yeah. So talking about results, in the PL relation we used like the metallicity values I showed you. They varied from 0.0005 to 0.006, and this gave us a distance ranging from 7 parsecs to 13.5 kiloparsecs. And like the time period we measured was as Yashwant mentioned, it was 6.39 hours compared to the 6.997 hours which was mentioned in the VSX page of our object. So in the error in that is accounted to be around 8.7%. And the literature value for distance we got was around 12.24 kiloparsec. So the different values we calculated according to the different metallicity values, the error ranged from 40 to 10% in that. Next slide, Yashwant. Yeah, so the uncertainties and why are these like there are errors. So in time period calculation we can say like we extrapolated the light curve to calculate the time period. So like this caused an error in the measurement and which propagated in the further calculation. And also basically the PL relation we used was for I band, and the absolute and the apparent magnitude observations were in the basically R wavelength band. So this what I feel is like this was the major error causation in the calculation of distance, which like in one case it was around 40% as well, the error. And also one thing is like we couldn't get the metallicity value from literature, so we used like basically we tried out different values, so that could also have contributed to the error in the measuring of the distance. And yeah, thank you.
Yeah, we have about couple of minutes for questions.
Questions, anyone?
I'm curious how they interpolated to 0.8 and 0.9. I did not get that at all. On the hand-drawn plot, there was some interpolation done. I did not get that. How did you come to get to 8 and 9?
So if it is this graph visible in MATLAB?
Yeah.
Huh. So on the right edge, right end, it is almost reaching the minimum value. So I just took a scale and estimated after how much, how much length will that reach its minimum value. And so let's say I have a scale and this 1 unit of time is 2.5 centimeters maybe. And I estimate how much length it will take to get to the minimum value. From there, I found out the 7-8 value, 7-8 time. So the 7-8 in this one. And for the 8-9, if you see in this plot I drew, I assume that the slope 8-9 is equals to the slope 1-2. From there, I extrapolated it until it reached the initial value, which is 1. If that makes sense.
I mean, we get what you're saying, but I'm not convinced that was a great idea.
Yeah, so it's not a great idea, but we didn't have much time, so we went with the values.
Why do you think the graph is going down and going up again? Is this typical for CFIDs?
This is an RRC.
I'm sorry, for RRs. Is this typical?
Yes, SSV, is it typical for this?
Not particularly like for RRC. What we have read is like the light curve should be sinusoidal. So the dip we were getting, we didn't much knew about why we were getting. Maybe we could have maybe there would have been a curve which was a bit down in the first peak and then going up, only one sinusoidal curve fitting all the points, but the error in that would be much higher.
Mm-hmm.
So I double checked it. It is always giving me that dip in the values. I don't know why exactly, but
This is in the plot which you have made is in raw magnitudes. Did you do the 0-point correction?
yes, sir. So
Do you
what
get the
happened is,
dip after 0-point correction?
yes, sir. After 0-point correction, yes.
Do you have a plot?
So this is the plot after 0-point correction.
Your magnitude is
this
minus
curve-
16. This is a
Yes,
raw
sir. So
light
I
curve.
actually mentioned it. The y-axis should have been minus mag during my presentation.
Okay.
So I didn't know how to invert the axis, so I just plotted
Okay,
it like
okay.
this.
Sir, I have a question.
Yeah.
Is this curve phase folded?
I
think you
used
plotted
this.
it in time.
Yeah, I used. So what did you ask? Phase fitted.
In the phase folded, this curve.
I don't know what phase folded is, but
What
I
is the
plotted-
x-axis? Is it phase or is
Yeah,
it
it is
actually
time.
time?
It is time. It is time, sir. It is in hours.
So all of your data was given on a single night?
Yes, sir.
There were actually 2 nights. There's a 1-day gap between those observations. And when I used the second data set and added the 0-point, it was way off. So I excluded that data.
Did you contact the TAs about why 0-point might be way off and so on?
No, sir.
Okay. So you can't just throw away half of your data, right? I mean,
So actually, on the second day, we had less data, and it was also not spaced very well. So it was not actually half of the data. It was less significant in a way.
Okay. And another question is that you just took average of these 7 points, you said, right? Suppose I had
Yes, sir.
given you a few more. I was annotating on that.
Oh, sorry. Sir.
Okay.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah. Suppose I gave you a few more data points here, right? Then your average would move somewhere here. Whereas on the other end, if I gave you a bunch of data points here, suppose I had taken 20 observations at this part of the curve. Okay.
Yes,
And
sir.
then another whole bunch of observations here. Okay. Then your average would have moved somewhere down here.
Yes, sir.
So the distance to your star changes based on how many observations I do when.
Yeah, it will change.
So you
But
see
then-
there is some gadbad, right? So you need to go think about why that is happening. and
Sir,
what
actually,
might be
so
the
I
answer.
I checked the values. The average value we got is close to what is given. But as you said, like just because you
That
got the
doesn't
correct
mean
answer,
anything. As I
yeah,
told you,
yeah, that's fine. That's fine.
I had said this to some other team also. Okay?
Yeah,
Yes,
it
Just
happened to be
because
right.
your results look reasonable doesn't mean they're right.
Yes, sir.
Hello.
Okay. Are there any other questions from anyone?
Yes, sir. I have a question.
Yes.
So I think this group has made 0 point correction for one image and use that value for all all the other images.
Oh,
Is that the case?
yes, yes, yes.
So
I mean,
is
I
it
used
the right
no,
procedure?
no. That is out right there. That is
Okay.
directly out. That is what is giving you the tip. That's what is causing all the problems in life here.
Okay.
So you have just added
Yeah.
28. That is not 0 point correction. If 0 point was same for all images, then you wouldn't have to correct for it at all, no?
So I was
So that
getting
is the
some
root cause of your problem.
Okay. Yes, sir. I got it now.
Had you asked TAs about all of this?
No.
I know none of you had messaged me about this.
So I was engaged in the starting period of the project, and then we're not doing.
No, by you, I mean your team. Any of you people.
On this
No,
particular
sir.
issue, we didn't. But in general, about the project, we visited the TS
Yeah,
multiple times.
it would have saved you some agony if you had.
Yes. So to be honest, we just did it yesterday, so we didn't have
Yeah,
time.
it shows. All right, so that brings us to an end of today's presentation. Remember to fill those CSVs and upload them. I am creating this thing on Moodle, so give me just 1 second. And yeah, so I've just created an assignment on Moodle. So you should go and upload your project CSV files there. Use your roll number as the file name so that we can make sure everyone has submitted, and then we can work on it. This has to be done before your Viva tomorrow. I also noticed that about 10 people have actually left in between. And I have an attendance list of who was present. So some people are going to be getting an email as to why they left, when they left, and how they plan to actually catch up and give grades to presentations which happened in the end. And then the other thing is that make sure that you're uploading your project presentations, your team's presentations onto the team's appropriate channel as well. Okay, so with that we end. I will be circulating a rough timetable for the Vivas tomorrow. As we had said,
Hello,
be
sir.
online on.
sir.
Yes, Dibakar.
Sir, for Viva, we use Zoom or Steam.
We will be using Zoom for Vivas as well. And we will have, so I will circulate a link and approximate times. Also, we will need you all to have your videos on during the Viva. So please be aware of that. So, and then as I had said, you have to be available a bit beforehand. We will message you on Teams. What we have found is that video calls on Teams are becoming finicky for a lot of people. That is why we are actually using Zoom more and more for presentations and vivas. Okay, so we will send you a rough timing of your vivas. Be aware that it may shift, and you should be present. You should be there on Teams. We'll ask you to join the Zoom call when we message you on Teams, and at that point, you'll be in the waiting room until the viva before you is done, and then we'll call you in. Okay, then. Thanks all. Good presentations overall. Let's see what your peers grade you as. And then on the basis of that, your marks will be intimated to you in a few days. Good day. Bye.